My name is Sydney Brown, and at 38, I've built my life around design, interior decoration, and the construction business. My father, Gerald Brown, runs the company I work for, though not many know about our connection. From a young age, my father noticed something different about me. I wasn't like other children. I had a natural talent for design, numbers, and visualizing spaces. My father often told me, "Sydney, you're special. One day I want you to take over the business." Even as a child, I took those words to heart. After school, I'd visit his construction sites or tag along as we toured some of the most unique buildings in New York City. These experiences not only strengthened our bond, but ignited my love for architecture. It became clear to everyone that I was destined to follow in my father's footsteps, but my siblings didn't always see it that way. While I was my father's clear favorite, my siblings felt left out. They often complained that I was monopolizing his time, creating tensions between us. But over time, they began to understand that it wasn't about favoritism. It was about my genuine passion for the business. Now, they fully support my dreams, and we've grown closer. In college, I majored in business management, preparing to take over the company one day. But I also developed an unexpected interest in interior design after taking a few elective courses. I found myself reimagining our family's home and secretly redesigning spaces like our living room and my siblings' bedrooms. By the time I graduated, I was torn. Should I pursue my newfound love for interior design, or follow the path my father had laid out for me in the family business? Ultimately, I decided to join my father's company, not wanting to disappoint him. But I couldn't hide my passion for interior design. My father, perceptive as always, noticed. "Why not combine both?" he suggested one day. "You can manage the construction side while also leading a new interior design division." His proposal thrilled me, but I also knew it would come with challenges. Despite my excitement, there was pushback from others within the company. Some didn't think an interior design division was necessary, while others questioned why I had such a prominent role. To avoid further complications, I asked my father to keep our relationship a secret. Only a handful of people knew we were related. This secrecy protected me from accusations of nepotism, but it also created an invisible barrier between me and my colleagues. Nevertheless, the new division thrived. By integrating interior design into our architectural projects, we set our company apart from the competition, and business soared. I was finally able to embrace both sides of my passion, design and architecture, finding fulfillment in my work every day. It was all thanks to my father's support and vision. But my personal life, which had seemed so perfect, was about to take a dark turn. 3 years ago, I met Daniel, who worked in sales at our company. He had a way of lighting up any room he entered, always the center of attention with his humor and charisma. I remember how his jokes in the company cafeteria would make everyone laugh, including me. It wasn't long before I found myself drawn to him. His lightheartedness was refreshing, and soon we started dating. Our relationship progressed quickly, and within a year we were married. At the time, I thought I had everything: a flourishing career and a loving husband. But early on, I struggled to tell Daniel the truth about my father's role in the company. I feared he might think I was bragging, or worse, that it would change the dynamics of our relationship. So, I kept quiet. The day came when Daniel met my father for the first time. After dinner, as we drove home, I finally confessed, "I've been meaning to tell you, my father is the president of the company." Daniel, always quick with a joke, laughed and said, "I thought you were just talking about the house." He didn't seem to take it seriously, and I let the moment pass, hoping he'd come to terms with it eventually. But as time went on, I began to see changes in Daniel. It started when his father passed away, and Daniel insisted his mother move in with us. I wasn't opposed to it at first. She was grieving, and Daniel didn't want her to be alone. But I soon realized that living with her would complicate our lives in ways I hadn't anticipated. Daniel's mother had very traditional views. She believed a wife's primary role was to cook, clean, and take care of her husband. My career wasn't something she respected. She often made snide comments about me working late and not being womanly enough. "A wife should always put her husband first," she'd say, implying that my dedication to my job was somehow neglecting Daniel. And to my surprise, Daniel started to adopt her views. At first, he defended me, insisting that times had changed. But over time, he began to criticize me, echoing his mother's words. "A wife should at least make breakfast for her husband," he'd say, or, "Maybe it's time to focus more on our family." I couldn't believe the man who had once been so supportive was now questioning my role as a working woman. Things escalated quickly. His mother became more hostile, going as far as sabotaging my belongings. One morning, I found my new heels drenched in water. "Oh, I must have spilled the watering can," she said with a smirk. It was clear that her actions were deliberate, but when I confronted Daniel, he brushed it off, saying, "She's old-fashioned, just give her time." But time didn't heal anything. In fact, things only got worse. Rumors began to circulate at work that my father, the company president, was planning to retire soon. And to my shock, Daniel had convinced himself that he was in line to take over. It started with small hints, comments like, "I think the boss has noticed my hard work," and "maybe I'll get promoted soon." But then, one day in the cafeteria, I overheard him telling a coworker, "I'm going to be the next president." He said it with such confidence, as if it were a done deal. My heart sank. How could he believe something so ridiculous? He wasn't even close to being qualified for that role. I decided to confront him that evening. "Daniel, where is this coming from? You're not in line to be president," I said, trying to reason with him. But he just smiled smugly and said, "Well, I'm the only brown in the company, aren't I?" Who else could it be? He was referring to the rumors about a brown taking over, clearly misunderstanding that they were talking about me, not him. The more Daniel bought into this fantasy, the more unbearable he became. He started acting like he already had the power, bossing people around and making arrogant comments. At home, he treated me as if I were his subordinate, not his wife. "I expect breakfast on the table tomorrow morning," he ordered one night, and I knew then that the man I had married was disappearing. The breaking point came when I discovered Daniel was having an affair. It wasn't hard to find out. He wasn't exactly subtle. I hired a private investigator who confirmed my worst fears. The other woman was Dora, a colleague who had been flirting with him openly. I had suspected something was going on, but seeing the evidence made it real. It crushed me. I couldn't stay silent any longer. I gathered Daniel and his mother in the living room, placed the photos on the table, and asked him to explain. His mother's reaction shocked me even more than the affair itself. "Well, what do you expect? He doesn't love you anymore," she said casually, as if it were perfectly normal. I was speechless. The betrayal from Daniel hurt deeply, but his mother's indifference cut even deeper. I realized in that moment that neither of them cared about me. I had been a convenience, nothing more. But I wasn't going to let them walk all over me. I called my father and asked him to come over. When he arrived, Daniel's arrogance vanished. He hadn't expected the company president, my father, to be the one at the door. "Mr. President?" Daniel stammered, his face turning pale. My father, calm but firm, addressed him directly. "You're fired, effective immediately," he said. "Not only have you disrespected my daughter, but your conduct at work has been disgraceful." Daniel tried to apologize, but it was too late. My father had heard enough. He turned to Daniel's mother and said, "Your son will never be president. Sydney is the one taking over the company." The look on her face was priceless, utter disbelief mixed with shock. After that confrontation, I packed my things and left. I filed for divorce and demanded alimony, though I doubted they would be able to pay. Daniel had been living in a fantasy world, and now reality was crashing down on him. He and his mother had taken out loans, believing Daniel would soon be the company's president. Now they were drowning in debt. The divorce was messy, but necessary. I finally felt free from their toxicity and lies. I moved back into my own apartment and focused on rebuilding my life. My father, always supportive, helped me through the toughest moments. As for Daniel, the last I heard, he was still struggling. Dora had left him once she realized he wasn't going to be president, and he was left with nothing. His mother, too, was facing financial ruin, unable to keep up with the lavish lifestyle she had tried to maintain. But their problems were no longer my concern. Looking back, I see now that I allowed myself to be blinded by love. I ignored the warning signs, believing that Daniel would eventually return to the man I had fallen in love with. But people don't change unless they want to, and Daniel never did. He was consumed by his own delusions, and I was merely a casualty in his self-destruction. Now, I'm focused on the future. I've taken on more responsibilities at the company, and am preparing to officially take over when my father retires. My experiences have made me stronger, and though I went through hell, I came out the other side a better person. Life is peaceful now, and I'm finally living for myself, free from the lies, manipulation, and betrayal. The scars are still there, but they remind me of how far I've come and how much stronger I've become.